This exhibition of my work follows my artistic journey from being a painter of colorful landscapes to a painter of limited palette, non-objective abstracts. I think that every artist at times feels that they're wandering aimlessly, grasping for something that's always just out of our reach. After many years in the publishing business, I returned to making art by taking a traditional watercolor class, and I found it frustrating and unsatisfying. My frustration and the advice of a wise mentor led me to break the rules and experiment with a non-traditional way of using watercolor, that of squeezing the paints directly from the tube and mixing them right on the surface. It was shocking to pure watercolorists. But leaving the palette behind also led me to bold disregard of traditional color application. Often I started paintings with colors that were the exact opposite of what I wanted to end up with. So along the way, my paintings often went through gray stages before wandering back to bright colors. I took great joy in playful color relationships, and before I knew it, I was being called a, quote, colorist, unquote. In this phase of my art journey, my subjects were mainly landscapes, in which I tried to express how a place felt to me, rather than how it appeared to the literal eye. Over time, I wandered from landscapes to skies, and I developed, an obsession with capturing the emotionality of clouds. I was trying to paint the feeling of the air surrounding my body at that particular moment. I think of these paintings as being expressions of my outer spiritual. But the more I painted landscapes and clouds to capture my outer spiritual, the more I felt drawn to explore my own inner spiritual as well. And so I set off on a new and winding path to explore the elements of abstraction, allowing a growing fascination with line, shape, value, depth, texture, pattern, and composition to transform my artwork. I'd always loved abstract art, but I never felt that my own attempts at the genre were very successful. I actually wondered if I was even capable of doing truly pure abstract art. So these next paintings in the exhibit are still very much landscapes, but I consider them transitional because I was working out my idea of what abstracts were and how to approach them in my own work. In these paintings, I was mentally and artistically creating bridges from the representational to the non-objective. I broke down the landscapes into strong shapes and forms, and I used colors and textures more loosely. These experiments helped lead me to the abstracts that I paint today. My study of abstracts also led to a change in my teaching. In workshops, I began sharing not my from the tube technique, but my new understanding of abstract concepts. Classes on line, depth, pattern, shape, texture, value, and intensity. These are concepts that are at play in all artwork, of course, and can be applied to students who paint everything from realism to non-objective. I'm still learning every time I paint a new painting. I'm just wandering through this process we call art. So of course I'm not done wandering. I'm looking forward to the next phase of my journey, hoping I'll discover new ways to bring my own outer spiritual and my inner spiritual together into something wholly new for me in the expression of my art. If you are interested in seeing more of my art, please go to my website at calsportfolio.net